So this is a topic I want to be talking about for a while, and it's why do I call roguelike games roguelite? And is there a difference between the two? What do the two terms mean? So basically the term roguelite or roguelike comes from the original Rogue game on the MS-DOS, which I'm guessing not very many people who've actually who play these games these days are mostly youngsters who didn't grow up with the MS-DOS. Neither did I, but I have gone back and played it. If you've seen my Rogue Legacy video, you know that I kind of made fun of it for perverting what the word homage to Rogue kind of meant. Because the original Rogue game had no progression system in it whatsoever. It was literally procedurally generated permadeath. You start the game, again, with nothing, you end with nothing. So most games these days are further away from the original DOS game under what I'd categorise as roguelite games. They have the same idea as the original Rogue, with permadeath and randomly generated levels, but they mostly have a progression system. Notable examples would be like Spelunky. You have the unlock tunnels to different levels, and although cosmetic, you can unlock additional characters to play as. This is the closest to the original Rogue game out of the many roguelite games, but still, it's not that close. You know, you kind of lost what the meaning of the word roguelike. It came to define a genre, because what is a roguelike game? Is it the permadeath? Is it the procedurally generated? Nurse, is it, a lot of roguelike games are platformers now, or they're top-down shooters, and there's FPS roguelites, and, should we be calling them permadeath death labyrinths? So more examples. Binding of Isaac, you unlock new characters and new abilities and new items to use. Heavy Bullets, you have the banking system. Ziggurat, you unlock new wizards. Rogue Legacy, although named after the original Rogue game, as a muse, it's probably the worst offender because it's more like an RPG than anything else. You customize weapons, armor, and leveling up your stats. I really think that although these games are called roguelike games, they're probably closer to roguelite as a theme. They have a lot of different elements of roguelite games. So a lot of them have the permadeath, they have the procedural generation that you had on the original MS-DOS game, but a lot of them really stray away from what it was about. You start the game, you die, you start the game again. There's a lot more progression in these. They're closer to RPGs, especially Rogue Legacy, which is the most confusing one for me, because it's based on the original game, or an homage to it, basically. In conclusion, I think that we shouldn't use the word, procedural generated death labyrinths as roguelites or roguelites to define a genre. We should use the word roguelite to say this has roguelite elements, but if you're going to say that, you should say it has permadeath as an element. That is an actual useful piece of information to tell people. You can say it's a platformer because that describes what the game's doing. You can say it's an FPS. You can say there's random generation in it. You can say there's leveling up and there's different elements like RPG-like elements, because even RPG-like elements these days is confusing because that genre has become so confusing. So I think if you just describe the individual elements and you can maybe compare it to other games that are similar to it, I think that'd be really useful for finding out what the game actually does and what it's about. And I think we should be calling these games roguelites instead of roguelikes, because they're not close to the original Rogue game.